Hi, how's everybody doing? Welcome to, I don't know what this is anymore because it's been a really long week. This is a MusicNL Town Hall meeting. Our guest tonight is the lovely and talented Rob Wells, of Rob Wells fame. Rob is here thanks to the wonderful people at MusicNL, Factor, Simba Music Publishing, Chapter Music Publishing. Yes? Chapter 2. Chapter 2. Don't go to Chapter, they suck. Go to Chapter 2. What else we got? Simba and the Songwriters Association of Canada. We're probably going to say sponsorship by Guinness. Who else we got? What are you drinking now?
What's that?
Under Armour.
Yeah.
On his hat.
Yep. Fox.
Thanks to Erin's Pub for having us. So we're going to just kind of jump right in. I'll tell you a few little things that I know about Rob. He's a fantastic, super fast working producer. The last 3 days we've had some song camp stuff, and Rob has worked with a bunch of local songwriters. And normally when I work with other people, you get together and you hash things out and you write. It takes a while, and you end up with, you know, kind of the rough skeleton of a song after like so many hours. Then you go away and you come back and you work together. So far this weekend, I think most of the songs have been almost entirely fully realized, so it's that fast. Rob has worked with, as a songwriter and producer, a few names you might know, Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber. You guys know who Justin Bieber is, right? Yes.
He's that American fella, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's American, yeah.
Jerry Stamp.
That's right. He's worked with Jerry Stamp a couple times.
Yep. Let's hear it for Jerry. Come on. Yes.
Stop. So yes, Rob has worked with pretty much everybody who makes more money than any of us. So let's
including me.
including Rob.
Me.
So let's have a warm round of applause for Rob Wells.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, internet land as well.
We're going to kind of do a pretty chilled out conversation here. So I guess we'll start things off. I'll just talk to Rob about songwriting and how he looks at it and treats it, philosophy, things like that. And then we'll have some questions from y'alls, whatever. So the first question I usually ask other songwriters, most writers have a certain technique that they use over and over again, whether it's I need to write the music first or the lyrics first, or some people work both just to see what happens. Is there a particular style or theme that you use that kind of gets the juices flowing first?
That is a great first question. First of all, thank you everyone for coming out tonight and being here. And it's a real pleasure for me to be here and hang out in the island of Newfoundland, one of my favorite places, and work with some great, talented people. It's pretty amazing. Really blown away by everyone here. So with songwriting, I guess the thing that I like to do first and foremost is get together with whoever it is that I'm writing with and just sit down and talk. Not even get into the music first. Just really get to know the person that I'm sitting across from, or maybe 2 people or 3 people, whoever it is. Just get to know them and get inside their heads and just, you know, not even think about music. Just talk about life. Maybe go for a walk, go have lunch, do something like that. Just, you know, really, it's a different situation than these writing camps where we've been here for the last 3 days where we just have to go and have a song done by 6 p.m. But usually I like to just sort of take time and just really get to know the person and what makes them tick. And, you know, I ask a lot of questions. I always ask, what are your 3 favorite songs that you're listening to right now? Are there songs out there that you wish were yours? And that kind of helps paint the picture for me as to where we're going to go stylistically throughout the day. I'll take all the 3 songs that they mentioned and then mix them together and try to come up with something that encompasses all of those songs. So that's really how it starts. I don't really come in with anything prepared ever. There's some producers that will do that where they'll have tracks ready to go, and I don't like to do that. I just kind of like to come in with an empty slate and just find out what's going on inside the room and find out where we're going to go, because there's no point in me coming in with something already prepared that could be entirely wrong for the person that I'm going to work for. It's kind of the way that it starts.
Cool. Are there particular genres that I mean, obviously most people have a genre or 2 that they find is in their wheelhouse, but you've been working with a lot of different writers and a lot of different styles the last few days alone, leave alone your actual body of work. So are there particular styles that you feel or genres that you feel are like that's your wheelhouse, or are you kind of like I can get in on anything?
I kind of feel these days like I'd like to think that I can get in on everything. There's definitely some areas that I'm stronger at. However, I love to listen to everything. I really do. There's not one style of music that I don't like, and I'm really open to all styles. There's a teacher when I was probably about 15 years old, and I was really opinionated about music at that age. And my teacher said, listen, even if you hate this song, I want you to find one good thing about it. I want you to find something in there that's cool, whether it's the sound of the drums, the kick drum pattern, whatever, just something. Find something in there that's really, really cool. So I started re-listening to all these songs that I absolutely hated and began to really appreciate certain things. And then that just opened me right up to every single musical style that's out there. Cool. So, I really gravitated when I was young towards Motown and a lot of classic Motown songs. Just great pop writing and great arranging. So I think that's probably my strong set right there. I like to be sort of like a current day Motown sound, I guess. It would be kind of the specialty, but I'm so thrilled to jump into any situation, be it country or folk or rap or death metal or children's lullabies or whatever it is. Just it's great to wake up every day and work on music.
Nice. When you started, I guess, producing and writing when you were younger, at what point did you kind of realize this is going to be a career now? Or when did it go from being this is a hobby to being this is something I'm going to do?
It was probably the moment that I had a song first appear on the radio. That was the moment where it all kind of dawned on me that this is possible. And if it happened once, it might happen again.
Cool.
I used to work as a computer animator back in the day. And I was writing music all the time on the evenings and weekends, just whenever I could squeeze in time to write. And I caught wind of a songwriting camp back in 2001 that was happening in Toronto, and I knew the person that was organizing this songwriting camp, and I had no previous cuts or anything. I had no experience whatsoever working for major labels. But I begged and begged and pleaded this guy if I could get into the camp. I just said, listen, I'm gonna rock it for you. I'm going to work really, really hard, and just you won't be sorry that you put me in there. And true enough, I got in there and I worked my tail off while everyone was leaving at 6 o'clock at night. I was leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning and just trying to get as much done as I could. And nothing ever happened after that camp. I just met 40 great people though, and people that were like-minded. And I just really knew, wow, that's exactly what I need to be doing. And 2 years later, there was a song from that camp that eventually got released to radio in 2003. And I was at work. We went out for like this go-karting day at work, where this like team building exercise. And when I was in the middle of the go-kart track, my song came on the radio, and I stopped the go-kart right in the middle of the track, stood up and said, "That's my MFing song." And sorry, trying to keep it PG. And yeah, that was kind of the moment that I realized, all right, this is going to happen.
Cool. When you were younger, were you playing in like bands and stuff, like with your friends, just kind of jamming in garages and?
Yeah.
So how did you go from being just kind of a kid playing around to becoming a producer?
Wow.
Was it accidental, or was it something you kind of decided I'm going to learn as much as I can and get there, or?
I had the benefit of having an older brother who's also in the business, and he showed me a lot of things when I was young. He showed me a lot of recording techniques on tape, on 4-track tape, and that really got me excited. But I think I had the opportunity to go to a school of the arts when I was in grade 13 back in the day in Ontario when they had such a thing. I went to a school of the arts, and the school of the arts had a music studio in there, in that school, and it was really basic. It was just basically an old Mac computer and a Korg M1 keyboard. But I just went crazy and started learning how to use this, and spent the entire year at school just producing all the local singers that were at the school. And that was kind of it. I just really knew at that point that that's not only do I love to write songs, but I love to go the extra mile and start to put the songs together and try to mix them and master them and try to make them sound like a finished record. I get really excited about both aspects, the writing and the producing.
To go a little bit more modern, what are you listening to these days? What is it that's going on in modern music that's really blowing your hair back?
Man, There's so much. We're living in such a great age for music right now. It's such a great age. It's really hard though because I don't really get a lot of chances to listen to radio. I'm working all the time, and the only chances that I get to hear cool new things is when I ask the artist, name the 3 best songs that you love. Man, what do I love? There's so much that I love. It's so hard to pinpoint. However, having said that, when I get in the car after working, pop music is the last thing that I listen to. I just can't listen to that again after I've been working the entire day on it. So I get really charged by classical music. I get really charged by soundtracks. What else do I love? I love just like really good, honest music. My favorite songwriter is Neil Finn from Crowded House. And if you just listen to Neil Finn all day, all night, I mean, that's stuff that I love too. I love Labyrinth from the UK. I'm a big UK supporter of music. I just find that they're so smart in what they're doing and so cool, and they take chances. And thank God North America's finally caught up and is now also taking chances in a lot of different styles of music. 10 years ago, it was not like that at all. It was all just like pop rock stuff, and the UK charts were so cool and exciting. What else do I love? Yeah, if it's honest and it feels good and it's exciting and you want to listen to it 1,000 times over, that's the music that I'm listening to, right there.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far? Anyone? Questions? Room full of musicians?
Crickets.
There's a producer here.
How do you write a hit song? No, seriously, I do have a question.
I work with Kirk Penny. That's how I write a hit song. There we go.
You mentioned the song camp, and you met 40 talented people. I was fortunate enough to work with you guys this last couple of days, and it enlightened me so much. We all talked, myself and Jerry were just blown away with how you guys make music, and your system is so much different than ours, because here in Newfoundland, we're still fairly organic, and that's a good thing too. Rock is alive and well here, and we like to plug our instruments in, and you can unplug them and still play them, but what I saw you guys do just, opened up our minds.
Hold your mic up.
Oh,
sorry, Kirk.
Yeah, I've always got issues with standing next to the front of the mic. Sorry about that. But the technology, the learning curve is so steep for what you guys do. How would you recommend myself and Jerry getting into your world? What's the first thing we should buy, or the first piece of software we should look at?
Wow, what's the first piece of software you should look at? There's so many different software titles that are out there for getting involved. Wow, we're living again in such a great age with access to technology. Every Mac comes with GarageBand. That's a great place to start. Start with GarageBand and learn that really well. There's so many songs that have been made using GarageBand as the main sequencer.
Guys like me and Jerry, we're beyond GarageBand.
Yep.
I'm a Pro Tools guy, and
Yep.
Jerry's got his Reason system, but we're still intimidated we're still intimidated as heck by your mini Korgs and your mastery of the samples and just things like that. If we want to go to the next level, what's the software or types of software we should be looking at?
Well, there's lots of sequencing software out there. You've got Pro Tools and you've got Logic and you've got Cubase and a whole host of other software titles out there. I would just start small steps. Get a virtual instrument if that's your thing. Start with a virtual instrument. I know you're saying Newfoundland it's mostly folk, rock, country, and it's all real instruments, and there's not a heck of a lot of programming. I would just get into whatever your program of choice is and start messing around. Find out if there's any built-in sounds, first of all. Find out what the built-in sounds are, see what they do. Really listen to each sound. Like I have, literally at all times, I have hundreds of thousands of sounds and samples at my disposal that I take with me on my laptop or at home. I have an identical setup going on at home. And I know where everything is. So depending on what it is that we're going to do during the day, I kind of know already how the song's going to sound. Now it's like, okay, to make that song, I'm going to use this sound, that sound, that sound, that sound, and I'm going to grab it from all these different places. So you have to know what each instrument does and how they do it well. So I would just start with one. You know, it is really small steps.
Trial and error.
Trial and error, and listen to every sound and try each sound and see what they do. Because sometimes sounds do 3 different things depending on the velocity that you hit it with, or the longer that you hold it, or if you use the modulation wheel. Things like that. It's really a lot of fun if that's your thing. If you like getting in and being geeky and techy and starting to mess around with stuff, and then write a song with that one sound. Try to build a track with that, and once you get bored with that, move on to another one. Buy another one and try it out. Get a sample pack from somewhere. If you want to try a dubstep song, buy a dubstep sample pack and start messing around, seeing what each song does and how do they mix together, and try things. And do a new song every day, even if you just do a 4-bar loop. Just make something up, try something, and then move on the next day. Do a new 4-bar loop. Just experiment. Just really try to make things up, and then you'll find that over the course of time that your tracks will start to sound better. They'll start to sound more full, more complete. Just experiment and take chances. Really.
Cool. Thanks, man.
No
Appreciate
worries.
that.
No worries.
Another question, anyone?
My favorite color is blue.
That was going to be my next question.
All right. Okay.
How do you feel about like different genres colliding? Like how does that work in your world?
I love it. That's the most exciting. Different genres colliding. 10 years ago, I was trying to keep up with the whole North American sound, and a lot of the stuff that I did was pop rock stuff. And then somebody handed me, those mashups that they do where they take one song and then put another song, they'll take the music of one song and the vocals of another. Someone showed me this thing where it was R. Kelly and Broken Social Scene and put it together. And it was Broken Social Scene music with R. Kelly over top of it, doing the top line. And it was so amazing. It was just worked so perfectly. And I just thought, that's the future. That's where things are going to start going and start, collaborating with 2 different worlds, mishmashing. I love it. It's the most exciting thing of all. And these writing camps are so crazy cool. Like, today I'm working with Jerry and I'm working with Cody, who's sitting over here. And I have my world, Cody has his world, Jerry has his world. 3 completely different, unique styles. And the point of these writing camps is to work with whatever's in the room. You don't walk in and you say, this is what I do and this is what we're going to do today. You walk in and you say, well, here's this, here's that. It's like making a big stew, You just throw all these ingredients in, mix it around, and man, you come up with something crazy delicious.
And it's different every time.
It's different every time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's cool. I love the world that we're in right now. It's such an exciting time.
I agree.
Does anybody here do any programming at all? One person, not sequencing, programming. Yeah, cool.
There's a question in there somewhere.
What do you use? What software?
I use Logic 9.
Logic 9.
Yeah.
And do you have a whole?
Cool.
Do you have a lot of different virtual instruments?
Yeah, I have Complete 8 by Native Instruments. I use that a lot.
Yeah.
I've got like Slate drums.
Cool. What
those
kind of
are
stuff
awesome.
are you doing right now?
Pop music.
Pop music?
Yeah.
I heard this week that there's nobody on the island that's doing that, so it's really refreshing to hear that there are people that are doing this.
Yeah, there's not a ton around, I've noticed, but we're having a good time with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, the computer is really my world. I grew up with computers at a really young age. I think 8 years old is when the computer first came into the classroom, and I really gravitated towards it. And I also love the whole real instrument world as well, and I've done a lot of projects like that as well, working with bands. But I always try to just with today's sound, it's a mix of things. It's you get the real instruments and then you supplement it with a sampled kick or something in there that the drummer is there with more things happening, or the keys are happening with more things happening on top. So yeah, that's good to hear. Cool. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh yeah, no worries.
All right.
I actually put him on the spot. But
All right.
With all that sampled, what have you, on the go, how do you pull that into a live music environment sensibly?
Well, with Like if I'm recording a live act, like
How do they take it onto a stage?
oh, they have to play with tracks quite often. All depending on the band, though.
Okay.
All depending on what it is. There's a lot of people that trigger their own samples that are built in, or sometimes there's a lot of people that play with tracks, or if they're just really damn good that they don't need the tracks, and that's cool too. You know, it all depends just what the style of music is and how much you need to make it exciting live.
To further that question, I've seen lots of people do different things where they play live instrumentation, but when they go into a studio and they build these crazy tracks that, you know, normally you don't play on a real instrument. Can you give some examples of how to make that work live? Have you done that before? Like change somebody's sound on, you know, from being just, you know, pop rock or whatever the genre is, and then taking it to a new level by building the tracks and playing them on stage?
So you're wondering, have I ever had someone
Like how do you do, like is there an example you can give of what you could do to change a sort of generic pop rock sound by using the tracks? Does that make sense?
I guess I'm just trying to use examples that I just worked with this girl signed to Universal named Veronica, and she started out all of her songs just her on keyboard, just coming up with these ideas. Mm-hmm. And she presented all these ideas to me, and I listened to them, and I thought, okay, well, here's where we can go. Here's where we can make things happen and make it exciting. To take it just from a singer-songwriter on keys to make it really, really jump out. And you know, we really went. She loves Drake. She loves all that sort of thing. So we kind of went in a real sort of pop Drake vibe. And then we had to perform it live, and that was really interesting, just seeing that happen. But in order to make it happen, we basically had 2 keyboardists and an electronic drum kit, and we just loaded the keys with a lot of the same sounds and samples. And she was just out there in the middle of the stage, just performing it live, and with 2 other keyboardists and a guy on an electric kit.
Did it give her a little more freedom, like to have that sort of, you know, beefed up sound behind it?
Yeah, it was cool because, I mean, there were so many things that we could do with the music. There were so many departure moments within the tracks where, you know, she would feel free to just completely wander around on the stage, and she could really fully get into the track. She wasn't thinking about, oh, what chord do I have to play next? And she loved that. She absolutely loved that. The fact that we could change certain moments that would become very atmospheric and ethereal rather than just hard piano sounds going. So that was a lot of fun, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. Ari Rhodes. Let's give it up for Ari Rhodes.
Do you understand my accent? Yes?
No.
Okay. All right. I love your accent.
Just so you guys know, Ari is a crazy, amazing producer as well. He has come here all the way from Edmonton to work this week, and he's phenomenal. He's so good.
He's lying.
I am not.
Do you ever get a writer's block sometimes?
Yes.
How do you get over it?
I co-write.
Okay. That's all.
Yeah, I never, ever write a song by myself anymore. There's no way in hell I would ever write a song by myself anymore. It's horrible. I used to think that I was the best songwriter in the world way back before I started to co-write. And I was wondering, why are none of these songs being placed? Why doesn't anyone want to cut these songs? And I was trying to write lyrics and everything, and they were just horrible. They were absolutely horrible. And then I discovered co-writing, and it was fantastic. I think we were just talking about best ball today, right? The golf best ball example is just when you're with a team of people and you hit the golf ball towards the hole, and whoever gets closest to the hole, that's where you play from. Everyone plays from that same spot. So it's the same thing in songwriting. You just get in there and you start throwing your ideas. And if I have writer's block and I'm working with 2 other people, chances are somebody else has got an idea that is going to spark something in me. But just writing songs completely by myself, man, I started a song back in 2005 by myself that I'm still not finished. I don't know where to go with this, and I should really co-write it with someone. But yeah, the secret is co-writing. And then you get a better product, too. you get such a better product co-writing that you never would have created completely by yourself.
Sorry, I took the microphone from you. So a smaller percentage is better than nothing, right?
Always. Always. Yep.
I like you.
Yeah. Oh, and one bit of advice too, if you're ever getting into a room with someone to co-write, at the end of the day, don't sit back and say, well, you know what, I think I wrote more of that, I think I need more of a split. Don't do that. That's the kiss of death. You'll never be invited back. That's such a drag. Just equal splits, no matter what. Everyone has a good day, everyone has a bad day, and just equal splits. All works out in the end. All evens out.
I was going to ask you, when I'm thinking about writing pop music, which I don't do a lot of, but when I do think about... Oh, my name's Elias. I live in Vancouver. I flew here a couple days ago.
Elias is a fantastic songwriter. I had the pleasure of working with him 2 days ago.
Question about pop music being, I find that when you get these really big acts, one thing that comes to mind really recently, someone like Lorde, for example, who, when she came out, there was nobody else kind of sounding like Lorde. And now everyone's trying to be like, well, that's the sort of minimalistic kind of way is a cool way to go, or whatever, or Frank Ocean, or whatever it is, right? Without giving away too many secrets, where do you think that's going? How do you try to stay ahead? You like actively try to stay ahead of what's the curve that way? Do you know what I mean? Like you say, well, this is so and so's big hit right now, but this was written a year and a half ago.
Right.
How do I write so and so's next big thing, or this person's about to break? How do we get ahead of that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that will drive a person crazy forever.
Yeah, it has. I'm already there.
Yeah,
I'm in Newfoundland. I live in Vancouver. I'm already there.
If you always try to stay ahead of the curve, how can you possibly know what the curve is going to be a year down the road?
Right.
So really, the secret is to write good, honest music. It really is. Write a good, honest track and do the campfire test like we did on the day that we got together. You and I did not touch production at all until the song was completely written.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, 4 o'clock, and we started at 9:30, 10 o'clock, something like that in the morning. I highly recommend that. I mean, having said that, I've been in other sessions where it's like heavily urban, and I need to create the track in order for people to dance around the room and really get into it and start writing lyrics then. But majority of the time, just guitar and vocal, piano and vocal. Make it rock, because if it rocks that way, then it's going to rock any which way. You can make it a polka, you can make it whatever, and it will still be great. So, staying ahead of the curve, I really don't want to do that. Having said that, the track that we did, when Elias and I got together, we were trying to think of where to go, what to do with this. And I'm a pop guy, and I get requests all the time from record labels. We're looking for a song for this artist, for that artist. So just before coming here, Adam Fujiki at Sony asked me to write some songs for Tyler Shaw. So that's kind of the mandate when I came down here, and just the very first day, I just thought, let's do this. I thought that the two of us could really hammer out. There's nothing like a couple of guys writing a love song, though. It's a lot of fun.
A couple of guys writing for 13.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's fun. There was that day where we really tried to sort of listen to what's out there and listen to what Tyler had done and really try to get into that pocket. Yeah. But most of the time, I find that my best success comes from just focusing on the song and making sure that rocks. Right. And then you get great success from that, rather than chasing the curve and trying to match the snare sound that's on this song. And that's really not what's important. I think the good songs will always rise to the top, definitely. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You've obviously had tremendous success with getting some huge artists to do your songs. So for a songwriter who isn't necessarily a performer, can you give some tips on how a songwriter can get artists to cover their songs and what you did?
Yeah, again, write good, honest songs. There's a lot of great A&R people out there. There's a lot of crappy A&R people out there as well. No, well, great A&R people obviously here in the room, yes. Yeah. But where am I going with this? I guess just, there were a lot of great A&R people that I met along the way that didn't care about what cuts I'd previously had. They didn't care that I was not the name Dr. Luke and everything else. All they cared about was the song. They're really great song people. And those great A&R people will listen to tracks when they come through. They can't listen to everything. I've seen their desks and it's just piled high with, well, in the old days, piled high with CDs and everything, but now it's all MP3s that are clogging their inbox and they scream at you if you send 10 MP3s into them. So I guess just, try and find the people that you really gel with out there. See if there's anyone that will accept material, first of all. Try to come out to events like this where A&R people are speaking. Do they have events like that here in Newfoundland?
Yes, it's called MusicNL Week.
All right.
It happens in the fall of every year.
Cool. Amazing. I'll be here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't even need to ask. I'll be here for that. So I would just, approach people and just say, what's your opinion on accepting music like this? Here I am and I'm this person and what exactly are you looking for? And how do you like to receive things? And just really just make it easy for them. Just really be of service to them and just send things in. If they are cool to accept it, send it in and don't be emailing every day and say, what do you think? What's going on? Because 24 hours for you might seem like, oh my God, this is taking so long, but 24 hours for the A&R person is a second. And it's just, actually, Bonnie, you can probably answer some of this.
No, I was going to ask you, can you talk a little bit about the importance of relationships in this business?
Oh, relationships are everything.
Yes.
Relationships are everything. Being a good person.
Relationships are everything.
Being a good person is everything. I try to be the best person that I can. I try to be courteous and nice and try to make people laugh. And really try not to get under people's skin. Really try to not get under their nerves. It's so important. You need 3 things in this world to be successful, I think, in anything in life. Whatever, if you want to be a record producer or a songwriter or a doctor or an athlete or whatever, it's just, you have to be talented and you have to work on that talent. You have to work really, really hard to get that happening in whatever it is. You have to have the drive to make that talent happen. And then the most important thing is your personality. Man, I can't stress that enough. Nobody wants to work with a prick. And if you are an amazing talent and you have so much drive and everyone hates you, they're not going to work with you at all. And people always ask me, oh, what is Justin Bieber like? And he's amazing. He's a great guy. He's nice. He's talented. All the stuff that you read about in the papers and everything, it's like a lot of stuff that goes on. And, being a 19-year-old kid or however old he is now, 21, and just, having all this money, I'm sure if I had the same situation, I'd be in jail right now or probably dead. But it's just when you work with him, when he goes into the studio, he's great. He's really, really great. He's very courteous. He's very respectful. He's very talented. And he's really driven. And he's just he wants to be there and he wants to make things work. And it's what if we did this and what if we did that? And it's always really, really cool. And those are the people you want to work really, really hard for. So if you, in turn, are the same way and you make it easy for people and you make it so that when the A&R person calls you up and says, can you work with my artist who's coming in next week? Yeah, I can. And they feel safe knowing that they're going to send their artist to you and it's going to be a great time. And at the end of the day, you're going to have a great product. Then you're going to get called back. It's not really a huge secret. It's just common sense, I guess, really.
Have you ever had a huge dust-up in a songwriting camp and just been okay, this is completely useless, or has it been resolved? Kind of thing?
Oh, I had a couple of times that were not so much fun. You wanted me to give specifics?
You don't need to give names or anything.
I was writing a song, or I was supposed to be writing a song in Sweden, in a little town 2 hours north of Stockholm, and I took the subway from the bed and breakfast that I was staying at to go get the train, and hopped on the train and took the train 2 hours north and met this producer and the artist, and everything was great. We met for lunch, we hung out, just like I was talking about. We we're having a great time speaking and talking about life and all that. And then when we got into the studio, about 10 minutes into the session, the producer completely switched off his ability to speak English. And the artist kind of did too. And I was just sitting back there. My Swedish is not that great. Non-existent at all, as Elias and I were trying to practice earlier on. I just started to give ideas, about the track. Well, what if we did this? What if we did that? And the producer just looked back and said, okay. And didn't do anything about it, and then moved on to something else. And this went on for, I think, 4 hours, until eventually one of my ideas stuck and got into the track, and I thought, okay, cool, we're getting somewhere. And I had to go to the bathroom. When I came back, the idea was gone. It was eliminated. And I just thought, why am I doing this? Life's too short. And I just stood up and said, guys, Godspeed, have a great time. I packed up my stuff and went back and waited for the train, took the train back, took the subway back, got to my bed and breakfast and opened up my bag, realizing I'd left half of my computer supplies back at the studio, and then had to go trace back, call them, see them again. It was just, it was horrible, horrifying. That was fun.
That's amazing. Anybody else have a question from the floor?
Yeah. Elizabeth Elming, Libby.
So you and Ari do some really cool things. You. Programming-wise, like you add a lot of really interesting little things, even if it's only like 2 or 3 bars leading into a chorus or something. Do you ever find it hard to kind of draw the line between something that's well-produced and like kind of holds the song up and something that's overproduced? And do you find it hard to like edit yourself sometimes? Like, do you want to just keep adding stuff? Because you're really good at programming, right?
Oh, thank you. There's certain times, wow, I've just bored 2 people to tears. There they go. Oh, they got to get it right. Okay, all right, okay. I was about to tear up. There's been a lot of moments where I get really overly excited, and I'm like, what if we did this? What if we did that? Yeah, we'll throw that in too. And eventually it's just like dog's breakfast. And at that point, it's kind of fun to sort of like build the song as big as it will get and then take away. And so that's what I tend to do quite a lot of the time. Here's an interesting thing that I do. I always start with the chorus first. Always the chorus first. Whether it's writing or programming, always the chorus. Because once you know, writing-wise, with the chorus first, once you know where you're going, it's like driving in a car. Once you know your destination, it's easy to figure out from point A to point B, I'm going from there to there. But if you get in the car and you have no idea where you're going and you just start driving on all these different roads, it could be a total disaster. So start with the chorus, and then with the programming, I also start with the chorus. And that's the moment where I throw in a lot of things, and sometimes too much, and I'll try things. I'll always experiment. And I'll take everyone's suggestions as well. Like, what if this happened? Let's try it. Let's see what happens. I'll never shut down somebody who's like, got an idea, because who knows? It might be the coolest thing. But yeah, definitely there's moments where there's too much being added in, and then you really have to pull it back. I guess the secret to me is if you can play it 1,000 times and not get sick of it, then you're kind of onto something kind of cool, something that's fun, something that's exciting, and it's, again, listening to Motown back in the day and listening to how they constructed songs and how they put it all together. Some of the most amazing parts. You listen to a song like ABC, Jackson 5, one of the best bass lines ever. If you ever want to go back and really analyze a song, listen to ABC. It's like, doom, 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 doom. It's the coolest thing. And then ABC, easy as 1, 2, 3. All these different things that are coming in there, and then this really cool drum pattern that happens after the chorus and this post-chorus bit and everything. It was really, really cool just listening to how they put all these different crazy things together, but how they all gelled together. So I really strive to make my music kind of like that, where there's a lot of different things happening and each thing is a hook unto itself, but then how do they support each other without stepping on each other's toes? It's a bit tricky, but again, if you just keep building these little 4-bar loops and start making them more intricate as you go, then you learn some tricks of the trade as you go and make it a little bit easier for yourself down the road. Cool.
Am I loud, Bonnie? Oh, thank you.
Peter Newman.
How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
Pretty good.
I need to publicly thank Peter Newman, actually. When I landed with Ari Rhodes and I landed 3 nights ago in a freak snowstorm that was unexpected. And Peter, the champion, came to pick us up and waited 2 hours. Yeah, an unexpected snowstorm in Newfoundland. Hard to believe. And waited 2 hours.
Unexpected snowstorm.
Yes. They couldn't get the machine up to the airplane to get the luggage out, so we had to wait for 2 hours for that to happen. He patiently waited there, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I did. I was swearing a lot in the vehicle, but
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That's true.
Nice.
I was texting mean things to Bonnie, but that's all.
So it was a regular Monday.
That's pretty well, yes. No, more of a copyright kind of a question in the new digital age. I think one of the things that's interesting, like the Sam Smith, Tom Petty thing. Do you think that that's happening more now because of the, information is so readily available to everybody? You can immediately, contrast, and some dude's in his basement, comparing your song to somebody else's song. It seems, and the Coldplay and Joe Satriani, and the list goes on, and everybody's suing each other, right? Just what do you think about that?
What do I think about them suing each other?
Well, I guess my point is, 15, 20 years ago, that seemed to happen less, and maybe we just didn't hear about it, or maybe it's happening more just because people can actually compare melodies and lyrics and chord progressions.
You don't remember Ghostbusters and I Want a New Drug? Yep. And that was a huge lawsuit. I think that Huey Lewis won that lawsuit, didn't he?
No, Huey Lewis was the guy that ripped them off. It was
Ray Parker. Ray Parker Jr.
Ray Parker Jr.
Yeah, but I think what happened
Huey
with
Lewis
Ghostbusters.
They wanted. Ivan Reitman wanted Huey Lewis to record a new song theme for the movie that was in the style of Want a New Drug, and they were like, "No, we're too busy doing other stuff. We're going on tour next week." Blah blah blah. So then he went to this Ray Parker Jr. guy and said, "Can you rip this song off?" And Ray Parker Jr. was like, "Sure, I'm nobody awesome." And then he thought, "I'm going to make a bag of money," and then he had to give all that bag of money back. So.
Yep. It's been happening a lot. Again, that's.
And I guess, is there any fear? I don't know if it's fear, but or if you're consciously thinking about that, and
I do. Yeah, totally. And it's tough because let's not kid around. There's been a lot of songs written out there, but then that's the joy of co-writing as well. You have someone else that you can bounce ideas off of, and if you're coming up with a melody, chances are someone's going to hear that and be like, "Well, wait a second, isn't that a little close to this?" So that's another great way of having other ears and catching things before it gets too far. And then when you're done a song, playing it for other people and having them listen to it and openly critique the song, that's another great way to catch it as well. But yeah, there's so many songs that have the same chord progression.
Exactly. To me, it almost seems, especially if in a strictly pop context, with 7 notes and a limited chord progression. You get an R&B and jazz and things expand, but it's almost inevitable to repeat melodies.
What's funny is about that whole Tom Petty thing. Have you guys seen that Funny or Die clip with Tom Petty driving down the road saying, "Yeah, I'm sorry to that Sam Smith guy, and I got my 12%. Let's listen to one of my other songs." And he goes to listen to this one song of his and says, "Yeah, this is back from 1976. Oh, but let's listen to this Talking Heads song." And it's totally identical.
No way.
Oh, yeah. But it goes through and shows 6 different examples of Tom Petty songs that are exact copies of other songs that came out before. It's quite funny to see.
Yeah,
that.
which is exactly the point, which is interesting in some ways. I listen, I listen to both the tunes. Just I don't know, something. I was bored for 55 minutes, and I know it's similar, but I didn't think it was that exact.
It's close.
It's very close.
It's really, really close.
And I don't know. And then they end up sharing the copyright, and they did a cool thing on the Grammys or something. So marketing-wise, they made it work.
Right.
But just like you said, I wonder if you could have, put a tweet out saying, can anybody check Tom Petty's song to see if there are any songs before it that sound similar? And there's bound to be somebody that previously wrote a tune,
right,
that's very similar, and but it's just in the digital age, I'm just wondering if that thing is more,
it's more readily available. The information is out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's so much easier to find that information out. We're always really careful about that and just trying to do it. And I suppose it's inevitable that eventually that will that might happen, but we try our best to make sure that that doesn't happen for sure. Ari Rhodes.
Have you ever sampled someone else's music to make a beat or not?
Yeah, there was one time where we put heart and soul into a song. We did this song that was called Soul, and at the end of the chorus we put in the dun 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 dun. So we didn't actually sample anything, but we played the melody in, and we had to reach out to the estate of Hoagie Carmichael and get permission, and I think they took 15% of the song. Yeah.
Who's next?
Can you talk about sampling a little bit? Because that's always an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Because people think even if if they're just covering a song, because you can cover any song that's released,
right,
but you still have to pay the publishing,
mm-hmm,
even if you're giving it out for free.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people actually know that. They think, well, I'm just giving it away, so why do I have to pay somebody? Because it's somebody else's copyright.
Yep. And it's bringing you business.
Yes, exactly. So can you talk a little bit about that? And you have a publishing deal, correct?
I do. Yeah, I've been with Sony ATV since 2005.
So can you talk about how that came about and the importance of before signing on the dotted line? Like, what were the important things for you from a publisher?
Sure. Yeah. Do you want me to touch the sampling or just talk about the publishing?
Both. You can do
Okay.
both would be great. So.
Okay, sure. So yeah, I've been signed to Sony since 2005, but I've been trying to get published for a long time before that, and always wondering why are they not signing me? What's happening? Because I'm still writing songs. I'm co-writing songs with all these people, and we're writing some good songs. But then after I got signed, I realized what it was. I had no money coming down the pipeline. I had absolutely no money happening in the future that was coming down. And these days, publishers, they look at you kind of like, well, not the two guys that I'm with, Gary Furness and David Quilco at Sony, are the loveliest people
They're
in the world.
amazing. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely people. They're great. I call them my fishing buddies. They're really, really cool. Not that I go fishing, but they're just the people that you'd want to be stuck in a boat with for hours and not get sick of them.
They have lots of boats here.
Yeah. But the people that are above Gary and Dave don't really know me. You know, all the other people that are the main publishers in all the different branches know me, the people that do the same thing as Gary and Dave. But the people above them, the people that are the accountants and the business people that run Sony ATV, see me as a number. And they see me as, Gary calls up and says...
The royalty administrators.
Yeah, exactly. Like they just say, we're interested in signing this guy. Okay, well, the answer that they get back from up top is, what do they have coming? What's going on? What's the activity? How are we going to make money off them? That's really the moment that publishers are going to jump on. Because in 2005, once I had a lot of activity going on, I had 3 publishers all of a sudden say, "Oh, we've always loved you. We'd love to sign you." Yes. And
can you touch on that a little bit? Because
sure.
I think people are like, "Oh, this publisher's really interested in me," but they haven't necessarily released a record yet, or they are just about to, or they have a great live performance, but they haven't really gone through the whole songwriting experience of collaboration and all of that.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, I mean, just with the publishers, when I had 3 publishers asking me to sign with them, I was really confused. I didn't know where to go, what to do, what the strengths and weaknesses were, or anything. But I did a lot of research and found out who their other writers were, and I already knew some of them through my workings before. I asked every single writer that was under that publisher, how do you like your publisher? How are they as people? Can you hang with them? Can you have a great time with them? How do they work for you? What do they do? Have they gotten you work? Have they gotten you cuts? Have they given you opportunities? Anything happen? And I chose Sony primarily, not that there's anything wrong with the 2 other publishers, but Sony, everybody said fantastic, great things about them. And true enough, I'm so thrilled with them. They're just really great people, and they work really hard. With a publishing deal, I'd been told long before I got my publishing deal by a lot of people, sign for a lot of money, get as much money as you can, and you'll be all set. And so I thought, okay, this is great. I'm going to ask for $500,000. I'm going to get a $500,000 publishing deal, and life's going to be great. But what I didn't realize is that money is your money. That money is money based on future earnings, and it's money that you have to give back.
It's recoupable.
It's recoupable. That's right. So then I got a little bit smarter with figuring out how publishing deals work, and the more money that they give you, the more you have to give them back, basically.
And they don't necessarily give large advances anyways,
no.
Do they these
well,
days?
Not now. Not these days. No, absolutely. But if you're going to sign with a publisher, read the fine print. Read the fine print. Read what's going on. What do they want from you? What's the deal? Don't look at the money. Look at what they want from you, and then look at what they can do for you.
And how long.
And how long.
They have you for.
Exactly. So my personal deal, I signed for like a real low amount that I had to give them. Basically, they said they need 3 Rob Wells songs in order to move on to the next option period. And what that means is if Ari and I co-write a song, then that's 50%, 50%. That's 50% of a Rob Wells song. Now I have to write 6 songs like that in order to make my 3 full Rob Wells songs in order to move on. And those songs have to land on major label records or records that sell 50,000 units or more.
Which again goes back to the relationship point that we made earlier, that keeping all of those relationships is so important.
Yep.
Because you never know who else is going to get a publishing deal or who else is going to get a cut on somebody's record, and so you never shun somebody away just because they may not have the kind of height that you hope for.
Yep, absolutely. You never know what you're going to get when you when you walk into a room to work with someone. You could, one of the best songs that I've ever been a part of at one of these camps was in Edmonton with this. Sorry, Libby knows this song. With this girl that I had just met, and she, I don't know, does New Ella Charles have? She's big, right? But it's not like working with Dr. Luke or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, but it's just like I'm not trying to knock her in any sort of way, because she is amazing. She's phenomenal. But if I just looked on the paper and said, oh, well, that's all that she has going on, whatever, then no, you can't do that. You got to walk in there and just be like, wow, you're amazing. What do you have to offer? And it's cool. It's cool. We have Elias.
Had a question?
In terms of just on the publishing tip we're on here, did you ever feel like before you had a publishing deal, when you were starting to get some success, that without that publishing deal you wouldn't have access to certain artists, for example, or just basically at what point should you be really interested in it, or is it just, I guess you have to wait for them to come to you, kind of, you do your work and they come to you? Or like, I kind of feel like I'm at a bit of a point where like I've got a decent body of work, and then at what point does it? I don't really know what I'm asking, but
okay. Well, what is it that you want to do?
A big part of what I have been doing lately, is not as much as an artist, but as either a songwriter or like a composer, like instrumental composing. So I've been trying to find as many avenues as possible. But at what point, I mean, you can have so much success on your own, and you had success on your own, obviously. Do you need to have a publisher? Do you think that that's an important thing to do if you're going in down that direction, or do you know what I mean?
When I first got started, I guess I didn't need a publisher right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
All the material that I was writing was strictly for Canada. Everything that I was doing was in Canada, and I found that I could easily bounce around, and I can work all throughout Canada, and I can work with all these artists, and I can collect from Canada. There's SOCAN, and they're doing a great job at collecting all these royalties for me. It was the moment that I started getting action happening outside of Canada that I started to get really kind of scared, and just thinking, well, I've got this song coming out in Taiwan. How am I going to collect from this song? How am I going to get this happening? How am I going to know that every dollar is being collected from all these different places? So that that was one thing that really drew me to wanting to go and get a publishing deal, and from someone that was really set up worldwide, that they could really make it happen.
But there are administrators now that you don't have to give up any publishing, and they'll do the administration for you.
For sure, absolutely. But then I was also going to say.
Sorry, I was saying like EBA, for example.
Yeah, like EBA, and there's lots of there's some in Finland. They're all over the world. There's companies like that.
For sure, but I also wanted a publisher for other reasons too. I really wanted to start to promote myself down in America. And I felt like I could only do that so much myself. Having someone like Sony behind me, that they were so really instrumental at the very beginning when I first signed with them in getting me plugged into situations. Within
international co-writing and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, within a few months of signing with Sony, I was sitting in a room with a guy named Nick Lachey, who was getting divorced from Jessica Simpson, and I got really plugged into the Jive music scene and the Jive record label, and then I was working with Backstreet Boys because of that. But Sony was really instrumental because they knew the person that was the A&R point person for Nick Lachey, and they sent one of my songs down, and I guess it impressed somebody, and next thing I knew I was on a plane down to New York and working with Nick, and down to LA, sorry. And so that really helped, and I don't think that would have happened had I just done it myself. So at some point you have to ask yourself, am I going to make more money doing this all completely by myself, or am I going to make more money by signing with someone and giving them 50% of my performance royalties and 25% of my mechanical royalties, in order for them to get me plugged into all these things? I've since switched with Sony. It's no longer a co-pub deal that I have with them. I just have a straight administration deal because at this point I get my own jobs. Right, they're not really plugging me into anything because they don't have to. My schedule's like filled like crazy. It's all right.
But administration in the beginning is extremely important, right? Like registering with SOCAN or any of the different royalty streams that are out there today.
Absolutely.
Because those are your revenue streams, and
even just dealing with sync licenses.
Yeah,
and, things like
that. Can you talk about sync, like?
Yeah, well, I don't really know too much about that world because honestly, like the first time I got a sync, I ran to Sony crying, just like, help me, I don't know what I'm doing. There's all this legal jargon on here, and they just basically took care of it for me. So
that's another good reason to have a publisher, because then it doesn't cost you lawyer fees, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly.
When you first signed in 2005, is it okay if I ask, was that more based on songs being given to artists to perform, or for example, like placement in film and television? Like which one kind of pushed you to get published more?
Sorry, which one?
Like which when the publishers came to you and said all of a sudden, like, hey, we love you, please come sign with us, was it song placement in film and television that was doing that, or was it more like, I've got an artist and this artist is a big artist and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it was all from I got really involved in 2003 with Canadian Idol, and I got on Ryan Malcolm's record, and then the next year Caitlin Porter's record, and I did kind of half that, and then the next year was Melissa O'Neill and Rex Gowdy from here, and I produced both those records, kind of like 75% of each one of those records. And it was at that point that I had a lot of material happening, and I got the Idol winner single happening, and then Sony was just kind of like, I think Caitlin Porter had a song that was going on Canada AM, and there was a sync license, and I approached Gary Finesse and said, Gary, can you help me with this? And he thought, well, let's do more. Let's do more than that. So that's how it kind of happened. That's how the relationship happened.
I have a question now.
Yeah.
It's kind of less details, more like poppy question. Who is someone you would love to work with that you haven't yet, as far as a songwriter collaborator goes? And the other question is there a song that you were like, you heard, you're like, oh, I wish I had wrote that one? Wow.
Is there a song that I wish that I'd written? Man, there's this, Libby and I talk about Labyrinth all the time. When I heard this one song from Labyrinth from the UK called Earthquake, it really blew me away. There's that. There's a Crowded House song that's one of my favorite songs of all time, and I think it's amazing, but I don't wish that I had written that one. I'm very happy that Neil Finn is out there. man, it happens all the time. I was asleep at home, and Avril Lavigne's "What the Hell" came on the radio, and I woke up from my slumber and just heard that chorus and just thought, what the? This is amazing. This is great. Yeah, and is there anybody out there that I would love to write with? Lots. But I think it's more exciting for me to work with people that I don't know. And it's very, very exciting to jump in a room with somebody that you've never worked with before. And it's almost like a brand new world being opened up to you. I would almost hate to work with somebody that I've really looked up to, and it's just for the fear that, what if it doesn't work out, and whatever. And plus, a lot of the people that I really look up to, they kind of write their own stuff just on their own. They're freaks of nature, absolute freaks of nature. Paul Simon, we were talking about this past week. He's incredible. There's so many. Joni Mitchell, Neil Finn. The girl in Australia that I've had the pleasure of working with, Ginny Blackmore, who's just like crazy. Kathy Dennis is amazing. I worked with her. She's just insane. Writers that are just, you play one note on a keyboard and they're like, I know what we're writing, and they just blah, and it's genius, and how do you exist? How is that possible? There should be a law against it.
Was there ever a moment where you're like, I can't believe I wrote that, like it was totally off the wall, something you never did before? Like a techno line maybe or something?
Yeah. Just trying to think. Some people in this room know this story already, but I was approached by CBC Music, or CBC Television last November. They had this idea for a Christmas advertisement to advertise the upcoming movies that were coming out. And they said, can you write a little Christmas jingle over this thing? And they wrote the words, and they were really, really cheesy words. And they said, make it sound like Winter Wonderland. So, all right, I went and did this Winter Wonderland thing, just having some fun with this, and sang the demo. I'm not a singer. I'm really not. As you can tell from my speaking voice, this is kind of as good as it gets right here. But I sang the demo and auto-tuned the hell out of it, and then sent it in, and expecting them to laugh their heads off and say, no, that's not what we're looking for. But they wrote me back and said, that's great. And I thought, okay, cool. When can I hire the real singer? And they said, no, it's great. And it ended up going on national TV every 10 minutes, every commercial break. My voice was on there, and it's I can't believe that I was a part of that. And it was.
Which one was that?
Holiday Like You Mean It.
I love that one. It's great. I actually was walking around my house humming that a couple times over Christmas. It's a good jam. Anybody else have any questions? Come on. Shorty, somebody has a question about songwriting, production, engineering. Ari has another question.
Microphone.
Is it all in English? Have you ever made a song that is not English?
I've had songs that were translated.
Translated?
Oh, but no, I've had many songs in French that I co-wrote with this really cool artist in Quebec named Mary May. You would never hear about her outside of Quebec, but she's huge. It's insane. The Quebec market is so crazy. When you get on a record in Quebec, you really see where the real sales are in Canada. First day of sales are like 50,000 units, just like that. It's crazy. And then you go double platinum within a month. Like it's all in Quebec. They support their own like you wouldn't believe. But I don't speak French. I took French in school, but thought it was a joke, and thought, why do I need this? I speak English, and I live in an English area of Canada. And then I went to Quebec and realized how freaking awesome it is there, and how if I'd only knew the language, I could be exposed to so much more. So yeah, I have a whole bunch of songs that are co-written with Mary May, and they're all in French, and I wish I knew what she's saying in them, but sounds great.
So you trust it?
She has to translate for me and tell me. And sometimes I go into Google Translate and get this horrible translation coming back that doesn't quite sound all that great, but I get the gist.
So you mean one day we can write a Greek song together?
I look forward to that.
Okay.
In 5/4.
Yes.
In 5/4.
17/18.
17/18. 18th notes. I'm still trying to wrap my head around 18th notes.
When was the moment that you, we talked about this a bit today when myself and you and Cody were working and just kind of talking about songwriting ideas. When was the moment that you decided to not be so precious with your writing? The moment you decided to kind of open up. Like we were talking about the idea that when you first start writing, a lot of times you write that idea and you're like, this has to happen this way. There can't be any other way. It has to go this way. And then at one point you realize, maybe I can not be so precious with that, and I don't have to throw the idea away just because I don't use it in this song. I can put it aside and use it in another song later. Or, sometimes you write a song with like 8 different chord progressions and realize I don't need to use all 8 of them in this one song. I think everybody, when they start writing songs, writes 6-minute-long epic songs. And then all of a sudden one day it's like, they try to whittle it down to 3.5 minutes or so, and they're like, I can't do it. And then again, like 2 years later, randomly, they're like, oh, 3 minutes, no problem. I can't write a 4 minutes long song now to save my life, that kind of thing. It just kind of happens. So was there a moment for you where you decided you would be, not so precious with the songwriting, just be like, I'm going to try some stuff, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not going to lose my mind over it.
Yeah, I think it's all the time, really. I really try to keep it as simple as possible. Having listened to Motown, they are really complex arrangements around very simple songs. So just trying to keep it simple, just trying to think, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, I'm trying to really communicate something within 3.5 minutes. And when you're at a party, do you want to go talk to somebody that's just like, and all this stuff is just, no, you want to get someone that's like, here's the story, and here's what it is, and here's where it goes, and it's really not that complicated, it's easy to digest, but man, does it ever hit you here. It hits you here. So that's, if you can find the magic and just make something that just reaches in and rips your heart out and is 3 chords, and the melody sounds like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, that's kind of what I strive for, if possible. As simple as possible. There are moments definitely where we go a little crazy and try lots of different things, but you always got to pull it back, for sure.
That party metaphor shows that he's a writer.
I have a question, I guess. To touch on that a little further, I guess I'm in a band. Actually, I think Robert Kelly is out with you guys doing that songwriting thing too.
Yeah.
But there's 6 of us in the band, and we all co-write, which is good in a way. Like there's a lot of ideas flowing, and we get to a lot of different places that we would never got to for reasons that you talked to before. But we're coming on. Robert actually brought us onto it because he's like kind of like reeling us in a bit, because it's easy to get carried away when you have so many. Like everyone wants to do a lot, and everyone wants to do as much as they can on their instruments. So, I guess basically how do you know when you're doing too much, and how do you basically try and reel yourself in from getting too carried away in that type of situation? You know what I mean? Do you have any suggestions for that? Because we can't, we don't record, when we're writing, we write in a room in a jam space. We don't normally record our demos till later. So when we're in that room, we don't just record everything and then look back at it later and re-edit it. Although that might be a good way to do it.
Okay, so there's 6 of you writing each song.
Yeah, just an individual song, where there's 6 of us writing. There's a lot of parts and a lot of things going on.
What kind of music?
Well, it's alternative rock.
Alternative rock. Start simple. Just, I hate to say this because there's 6 of you, but get just the guitarist and vocals going on. Have the 6 of you hanging around there and work on that. Just all of you have input just on that only. Just really focus on those two elements and have all the ideas flowing. Well, what if we did this? What if we tried that chord? What if we did this? And then once that works, then it's going to be so much easier to expand out of there. And make sure that you can play that song over and over and over again, and none of the 6 of you are getting tired of any single aspect of it. Right. Then you know you're onto something great. You're cooking up something really, really nice. Then start to slowly build the house, build the foundation, figure out what are the drums going to do in this. Once you've got all the chords laid out, you've got the melody, you've got the words, that's all figured out, then figure out what's everything else doing. And don't do it all at once. Do small steps, do the drums. Figure out the drums. Just figure out how does this work with just drums and guitar and vocal. And it's cool. It really, really works. Then move on to bass, and then move on to keys, and move on to other things. And if you find at any moment,
focus the spotlight on each
Yeah,
one
it's
thing
just,
at a time, basically.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, 'cause we get caught up. Like a lot of times, we write like new riffs in a like. There are times where we bring it like one guitarist will bring like a riff and we'll build it. But there's other times where like we're in a jam setting and like we'll just get on a wave and like ride the wave and then
that's
it's,
cool
like,
too.
one big thing.
Yeah.
But then it's like it's harder to I guess to filter out.
No, but that's fun too. Like there's been so many songs. Like American Woman was created that way. The Guess Who they were playing at a high school dance, I think, and Burton Cummings wasn't on the stage. They were waiting for him, and Randy Bachman just like, everyone just started jumping in on that and trying different things and seeing where it worked, and then they were just jamming on this thing, and then before you know it, Burton Cummings came running up on the stage and grabbed the mic, American Woman, and just it kind of started that way. So it's fun to do stuff like that too. But if you're finding that things are getting complicated in the song and that a lot of toes are being stepped on, strip it down to the raw basics, and then figure out what makes that song tick. How does it, once you have sort of gone through the jamming of it and it's fun and it's really exciting for you, if you find that it's all kind of like too messy, even though it's fun, just please strip it down and you know, really get to the heart of it. And find out how to make it work that way. And then, like I said before, once you do that, then you can add anything over the top of it, and it'll work. It'll be fine.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Right, thanks.
No worries.
Kind of getting back to the producing side, where you said you have like, you know, a certain amount of sounds and everything that you're pretty familiar with. You know, is there a way, does it ever kind of start getting stale where you're using the same sort of thing? And do you have a way to break that, if so?
Great question. I think I'm at a point right now where I have enough in my bank that I can still jump into probably 1,000 different musical styles, and then things keep changing as well as we go. You know, like the different sounds and different things. And thankfully, we're in a real section right now of time where there's a lot of retro sounds happening as well. There's a lot of throwback stuff. There's a lot of 80s sounds that are being used. There's a lot of disco sounds that are being used, and everything. It's just everything old is new again.
Yeah.
But then it's come back with maybe a couple of extra things added to it, so that's fun. Again, just try to make timeless music. Try to make stuff that you'll be able to play 5 years down the road, and it still is relevant. It still sounds cool. There's a lot of great records out there that you can still put on right now, and they sound great. You know, like, yeah, you awesome. Here we go. All right. Sorry. Speaking of timeless, like I think the best example is listening to. I'm going to date myself right now, but the movies Logan's Run and Star Wars. I don't know if anyone here has ever seen those movies, because I'm old as the trees. But Logan's Run had this like really hilarious. Well, it was cool for its time, but when you go back and listen to it, it's all these like synthesizers from the late '70s. That's the soundtrack. And when you put on Logan's Run, it ruins the movie because it's so like, and like that's the soundtrack that's there, and people are running away from robots and everything, and it's kind of a joke. But then you put on Star Wars and it's John Williams, and it's just like, this music is amazing, and it'll be amazing for generations to come. It'll be absolutely phenomenal. That's sort of a bigger example, but it's just if you can make your music as timeless as possible, then don't worry about keeping up with the current sounds and changing it up and worrying about if it's boring or not. Just really focus on trying to make it as timeless as possible, and then just incorporate a couple of cool sounds that maybe are happening today.
Cool. And just getting back to where you have so many sounds, do you find yourself reaching for the same thing often?
I have personal favorites for sure. Yeah. Man, there's so many great sounds out there. I just learned that the Wavelore sounds are from here, isn't it? Yeah, really cool. Like there's some amazing virtual instruments are made right here in St. John's. Really cool stuff. Yeah, I definitely have stock sounds that I go to sort of start from. But then I'll try to, on my own time, really go through and try to dig a little bit deeper and try new things.
Care to share any of the ones that you use often?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it all depends on the style of music that I'm doing, but if I'm doing something that's really sort of programmed, the obvious choices of massive and silent, and then there's all sorts of other huge atmosphere, a whole bunch of other ones. What else? There's a lot of free VSTs out there that are also really cool as well. There's this one that I just got called Basic 65. That's all the sounds of the old Commodore 64. And again, dating myself, but it's really cool, unique things, that all these weird video game type sounds, but you can play melodies with them, and it's really cool to sort of hide them within a track, and just neat little quirky things. I try to put a lot of ear candy into my tracks. Really try to keep it exciting, and I'm always reminded that the audience is bored really, really fast. So, try to find moments within the song where I can add new things in there, or maybe just like something that's kind of cool and quirky and unique, and just keeps the listener interested and engaged.
Cool.
No worries.
So we got a question from Lynn.
Yeah, so it seems like we're talking about sound and about music itself a whole lot, but I'm interested in your relationship with language. And so if you're a songwriter and you're paying attention to how people are speaking, the register of different sort of cultures and subcultures that you might be marketing to, what language is being used in movies and films, like what the poets are doing. I guess my question is, broadly, what is your relationship with language, and are you sort of routinely jotting down phrases, always listening for what they're saying to define the moment around which to build a song?
I got to be honest, in a songwriting session, I'm really not the lyricist most of the time. I've been very, very blessed to work with a lot of great lyricists, present company included, definitely. There's been times where I do have to write the lyric, but it's not my strong suit. Absolutely, I'm much more of a music guy and much more of a track person. Having said that, though, having worked with all these great lyricists, it's sort of trained me to listen for what makes a good lyric and what connects. And really, it's just that whole thing that I said before of just, I want to make sure that the song is not too complicated, that it really says what it needs to say without saying too much, without adding too much. When I was first writing songs, they were really complicated, and I started adding way too much. And there was this great guy at EMI Music Publishing named Mike McCarty, who now works at SOCAN, and he listened to one of these songs and basically said, "This sucks," and sat me down and said, "Listen, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to give you some advice right now. If you're going to be writing pop music, listen to this and listen to it carefully. Imagine that your song is called Party. It's just called Party. All right, okay, my song's called Party. So, verse 1, here we go. I'm going to the party. Here's the car I'm going to drive to the party. Here's the clothes I'm going to wear to the party. Here's the drinks I'm going to bring to the party. Here comes the chorus. Party, 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 party. Verse 2. Here's the friends that I meet at the party. Here's the way that I'm dancing at the party. Here comes the chorus. Party, 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 party. The moment that I add, "Oh, and I just broke up with my girlfriend last week," it's like, no, don't do anything like that. That's just not cool. So, man, that really, really stuck with me. And the whole thing about doing the chorus first, finding out your destination, making sure that rocks, and then making sure that every line in the verses funnel towards that chorus in a great way, so that you'd be able to just look at one line in each verse and be able to figure out what the song's about. That's really important. And then just making sure that within those 3.5 minutes that I'm taken on a lyrical journey that really takes me on a ride. Just like when you go to see a movie for 2 hours, you want to be taken away and have a great experience. Same thing with music. You want to be taken away for 3.5 minutes and really feel the emotions of what are going on with every single aspect of it, with the performance, with the lyrics, with the music, with all that. It's all about emotion. It's all about communication.
So do you have conversations with lyricists about the ideal combination of lyric and melody? I mean, I feel like that's a delicate area to talk about. It's not an arbitrary kind of decision, And I guess, what is your experience with that, with learning to write melody that exists within the world created by the lyric?
Yeah.
Maybe you can't talk about that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking there's probably people here that would be much better suited for that, for answering that. I do a lot of melody myself, but does anybody else want to?
We actually kind of talked about that today in our session, because there was moments where like we had like 2 and 3 lines. They were all kind of the same, but slightly different words, which would create slightly different rhythms. And like Rob says, he's not a lyricist, but at the same time, he made a great comment today, which was, I might not be a lyricist, but I definitely know a good line versus a bad line. And it was true. There's points where he left the room, and Cody and I were kind of hashing out all these different ideas, different phrasings. There might have been 3 or 4 of the exact same idea, but one had the word "and" in there, one had the word "but," and just slight differences, really, really slight differences. And we were like deadlocked. We were like, I don't know which way to go. And then Rob came back and heard like all 3 and 4 was like, that one seems like will pop more, you know. And there was little things like one of the phrases that Cody came up with was like, you know, do we use the word "ain't," or is that too kind of generic, or too like talking down in a certain way, right? And it's all dependent upon, I think, what you're writing for and what the general style is. So I mean, yeah, we needed Rob today to kind of clarify the context of the song. Like we did what he said today, came up with the chorus idea and what the song was about, where it was going. And it took us a while to get that going, but once it did, aside from this one line we got stuck on at the end, we were like, once we started, it was just like, bam, this is going. We had too many ideas. We actually probably got another like verse and a half of like excess material, you know, so.
Yeah, it was very fast once we had the chorus. Yeah. Once we had the chorus happening. I'm sorry, I don't know if I answered anything of what you're asking, Len.
I understand the struggle of answering the question, and that's probably not.
Okay, all right.
Speaking of the song itself, and how important is the bridge?
If there is a bridge, it's really important. It's really important. I do lots of songs where there are no bridges. Who misses solos in songs? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah.
8 bars, no more, no less.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks to Katy Perry. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, you hear the saxophone solo in popular music still to today all the time. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, as an aside.
What's that? Oh, yeah. Yui? Right. Yeah, I mean the bridge is so important. It's the third act of the movie, right? It's one of your favorite parts. Yeah, it's the peak. It's the climbing the mountain. You get to the top, and it's just like, if you're writing a song that's all about frustration, it's like, man, that's the moment where you're just like at that mountaintop and you're just like praying to the gods and just, please help me. You know, that's that moment where it just all like just comes down and explodes and then makes your last chorus that much more impactful. Try to tie it all together. It's really important, for sure.
I think what he's saying is the bridge is the training moment in every Rocky movie. The training montage before the actual fight.
That's right. That's right.
I got the microphone, so I wanted to ask you a question, because you touched on this briefly earlier, but never expanded, and you were talking about sounds, and drum samples was one of the, you just mentioned it and kind of went on, and I was playing in like an alternative rock band and stuff, and kind of like a real instrument purist, until before even I ever made my first one, I heard M83 for the first time, and obviously there are drum triggers on that mixed with real drums. It just completely changed my mind about the way drums could sound, because I'd never heard better drums than on their records. Is there a program that you prefer to use for drum triggers, like some kind of a, because obviously there's a blend going on here, and even when I made my first one, I always had blended drum triggers. Sometimes it was a struggle though, getting them right, and I didn't always know, like, is there a better program out there? Something got better sounds?
Well, there's definite programs that help out. There's, I think, a program called Drumagog out there Drumagog that helps you with, looks at your audio wave and then figures out where the hits are, and then you actually specify a series of samples that will be triggered by that one audio wave. Okay, cool. Yeah, Slate. Stephen Slate
as well.
Yeah. Myself, what I do is I just drag physical samples right onto the transport window and at the track window and just start manipulating them there, and just, you know, I'll line them up with the drums and just try to mix them in such a way so that the kick is just this massive event that's just, you know, when it's hitting it, just, yeah, you can get great sounds with real drums for sure. You can get really, really far. But in today's day and age, to really be sitting next to a Katy Perry song on the radio, you've got to do stuff that just really sort of like just makes every moment exciting in there, and right down to the kick drum and the snare. You know, you've got a great cracking snare going on, but you've got to have something else that's underneath there as well that just widens it and fattens it, and there's some sort of like, you know, just little clap sound or whatever. Is just like all those things.
I found especially on that instrument, and I'm not a drummer, so maybe I was more objective than drummer is in this, especially on the drums. You can't discount that, like how much better you can make it sound
for sure with
using the trigger.
If that's your aim. I mean, if you, but you can be a purist as well, and you can make the
and have a great sound.
You can have great sounding music as well. But if we're talking about pop music, if we're talking about getting on the radio, then that's kind of what Ari, you got to be doing the same thing, right? Yeah. 5-6 kicks to make one sound, and each one is doing a different aspect. You get one that's really punchy, and then one that's really,
and you're blending them
finding the right mix for each thing. That's when you're getting really, really tricky with stuff. But it's just man, when you hear it back, there's no denying that it just sounds like so much fun. It just sounds like, whoa, what is that? It's just, I want to hear that again. That's what you kind of have to do in every single aspect of your song. That whatever it is just, you got to make it so that each thing that you've done is exciting.
Okay, thanks.
Even if it's a sad ballad, you know, just each thing, ear candy. There's got to be little tricks and stuff that are going on within. You know, even look at a song like "Say Something." Say something, I'm giving up. There's just so many moments in there that it really is a simple song. But then when you go back and listen to it, there's these moments at the beginning of each chorus where there's this low rumble that just goes.
There's all kinds of compelling parts in there that maybe you wouldn't be listening to until the third time that you heard it.
Right, exactly. But to the subconscious mind, it's there, and it makes an impact when that chorus hits. Sounds like Godzilla took a footstep 10 miles away, but it's there, and it's really buried in the mix. But all these little things, they help out, for sure.
Before I give the mic away, this gentleman here asked me to ask you about Kenny G. So I don't know, do you have a funny story about Kenny G? I don't know.
Speaking of sax solos, everybody know who Kenny G is? No? Don't want to know. Okay. Somebody doesn't want to know, but for those who do know, what does Kenny G say when he steps inside an elevator? Man, this song rocks. There we go.
So I think we're just about out of time. If there's a few other comments or questions, let me know now. 1, 2, or 3 more.
I guess I can always ask the question that gets asked at any one of these Q&A type sessions. What is your advice for any young musicians?
If you wake up every morning and think of music, if you go to sleep at night and think of music, if during the day you think of music and you think, I want to perform, I want to write, I want to connect with people, I want to get my music out there, I want to be heard, that's what you got to be doing. If you ask yourself, what do you want to say when you're 80 years old, when you turn back and look at your life? Do you want to say, I'm so thankful that I did the things that I love? Or do you want to say, I wish I had done the things that I love? And if music is what you love, you have to do music. And no matter what anybody tells you, there's a way to make money in music. There is a way. There's a way to make money in anything. There's somebody at the Toronto Zoo that gets paid to shovel poop for a living. I mean, you can make money at music. And I've had a lot of people tell me, my guidance counselor in grade 12 told me, don't get into music because you'll be living on the streets. I'm so thankful I didn't listen to that. Follow your heart, follow your dreams, work hard at whatever you do. Work hard. If you love it, it's not work. But work hard. When you finally make it into the music scene, that's when the real hard work begins, and you'll be working really hard. But you'll love it, and you'll be so thankful when you look back at your life.
And be smart about the business.
Yeah, for sure. Or have people that are smart at the business working for you, in my case. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me babble.
Thank you for coming. And thank you, Jerry. Thanks to Jerry.
Rob Wells.
Jerry Stamp.